On my birthday, I waited at the restaurant for 2 hours, but nobody came. Finally, I wrote to the family group chat, and my brother replied, "We had brunch without you. You always make everything about yourself." I didn't respond. I just posted a photo with my coworkers, cake, balloons, and the message, "Best birthday ever." That's when my mother called, screaming that I had embarrassed the family. My name is Rodrigo. I'm 28 years old, and for the last few years, my birthdays have been complicated. Not dramatic, not catastrophic, just complicated in that silent, painful way that leaves you staring at your phone for too long, trying to understand a message that shouldn't hurt, but somehow does. My family, my parents, my older brother Tomas, and my younger sister Alicia has an unspoken hierarchy. I always felt like I was near the bottom of that ladder, not because I'd done anything wrong, but simply because I didn't fit. I wasn't loud like Tomas, who dominates any room he walks into. Nor was I soft and compliant like Alicia, the family's golden child. I was just me. I didn't cause problems, but I didn't play the game either, and in my family, not playing the game is a form of rebellion. This year, I decided to take the initiative and plan my own birthday dinner. Nothing extravagant, just a reservation at my favorite Italian restaurant near the river. I sent an invitation to the family group chat 2 weeks prior and a reminder the day before. Simple, right? I even made sure the time wouldn't interfere with anyone's work schedules. I chose 7 p.m. on a Friday, thinking we could relax, laugh, and share a meal like a normal family. I also told my mother directly, just to be sure. She sounded neutral, neither excited nor indifferent, just that flat, "we'll see" tone she uses when she's already made a decision, but doesn't want to say it out loud. So there I was on my birthday, wearing the blue shirt my ex said made my eyes look darker, sitting at a table by the window. I asked the waiter to hold off on taking our orders until the rest of the group arrived. I kept checking the time, watching the sun sink behind the buildings. I told myself they were just running late. Maybe there was traffic. Maybe they got the address wrong and were circling the block. I refreshed the group chat again and again, just in case someone had written while I wasn't looking. Nothing. At 7:30, I felt the first familiar pang of shame rise in my chest, but I ignored it. I thought, people are busy. It's Friday. Surely someone will come by 8. By 8, I'd had 2 glasses of water and made so much awkward eye contact with the waiter that I could feel his discomfort from across the room. I gave him a weak smile and said, "Just a few more minutes, I think." He gave me that polite, pitying look, that "you poor thing" gesture. At 8:20, I gave up. I opened the family group chat and wrote, "Hey, are you guys still coming?" Tomas replied almost instantly, which somehow hurt more than if there had been silence. "We ate without you. You always make everything about yourself." That was it. No apology, no explanation, not even a happy birthday. Just a blunt rejection wrapped in that tone of moral superiority he always uses as a shield. I stared at that message for a full minute, reading it over and over. I could hear his voice saying those words casual, satisfied, like he'd done me a favor. And the worst part wasn't just him. I saw that Alicia had liked the message. Even my mother had reacted with a heart emoji. That was the final blow. I didn't respond. I didn't ask why. I didn't plead for an explanation. I didn't send a guilt-ridden paragraph saying I'd been waiting alone for almost 2 hours. Instead, I asked the waiter if I could pack the tiramisu to go. I thanked him, he thanked me for waiting, and I left the restaurant. I walked 2 blocks in the cool night air, my numb fingers gripping the small cardboard box with the dessert, until I passed the warm glow of a downtown tavern. Some of my coworkers were finishing up their Friday after-work drinks. I normally didn't join them, but something inside me clicked. I pushed open the door and walked in. "Rodrigo," Anna from HR said, her eyes bright. "You should have come earlier." "Wait, it's your birthday, right?" I nodded, half smiling. 10 minutes later, I had a slice of chocolate cake in front of me, a balloon tied to my chair, and a chorus of "Happy Birthday" sung with slightly drunken cheer. I took a picture of the cake, the balloons, my coworkers making peace signs with their fingers and raising glasses of beer. The caption was simple: best birthday ever. I didn't expect anything. I didn't even post it out of spite. It was just a quiet declaration that I wasn't going to let them ruin it. But that post exploded in the family group chat. I didn't notice at first, but when I checked my phone around midnight, I had a dozen missed calls. My mother had left 3 voicemails. I played the last one out of sheer curiosity. She was screaming, "How dare you embarrass us like this? People are going to think we abandoned you. What is your aunt going to say when she sees that picture?" And then she added, "And your cousin Martina shared it on her stories. Do you want to humiliate the family?" There it was. It wasn't about me being hurt. It wasn't about them skipping my birthday dinner or leaving me alone at the restaurant. It was about image. About how they looked. Me being happy without them was apparently more offensive than ignoring me completely. The next morning, I woke up to a passive-aggressive text from Alicia. "Next time, don't try to make us look bad just because you didn't get what you wanted." Tomas followed with a "Grow up, Rodrigo. There's always something with you." And my mother wrote, "Your father is very disappointed. He says you owe us an apology." I didn't reply to any of them. I didn't need to. For the first time in years, I didn't feel that need for their validation. But the next step I took was the one that ensured they would never treat me like an afterthought again. That day, I didn't answer any messages. Or the next. I muted the family group chat. I turned off the calls. Not out of spite, although I'd be lying if I said I didn't feel a sliver of satisfaction. But because I needed space. Real space. Without interruptions. Without guilt. And something strange happened in that silence. I started to breathe easier. The following Monday, I arrived at work early. I stopped by the corner coffee shop for a decent cappuccino and settled into my usual spot by the window on the 10th floor of the office. My boss, Andres, walked by, tapped the doorframe, and smiled. "I heard you had a good birthday." I nodded, surprisingly calm. "Yeah." He paused. "Have you considered applying for the open team leader position? I've noticed how people gravitate towards you." He left me speechless. I had been working there for years quietly, efficiently, reliably, but never flashy. I always told myself I wasn't that kind of person. Not someone who led, who dominated a room. That was Tomas. I was background. Silently capable. But maybe that had more to do with how my family treated me than who I actually was. So I said yes. I submitted my application that same afternoon. That week, while I waited for a response, I dove into decluttering my life. I went through old messages, deleted conversations that only brought up feelings of obligation or old hurts. I left family WhatsApp groups. I turned off birthday notifications from relatives who never reciprocated. And finally, I sat down to write something I should have written years ago. A letter to myself. Not a journal entry, not a therapy exercise. Just a promise. That I wouldn't beg anymore. That I wouldn't show up out of guilt. That I wouldn't keep handing over pieces of myself just because someone held the title of family. But of course, my silence only made them louder. 3 days after the birthday post, Alicia sent me a picture of my niece holding a drawing with the words, "Miss you, Uncle Rodrigo," in crayon. Then she texted, "Are you going to keep ignoring us? But hey, keep playing the victim, I guess." The audacity of using a child as a tool to guilt me wasn't new. But this time, it didn't work. On the contrary, it reminded me of all the times they'd used birthdays, holidays, even funerals as ways to exert power. Rodrigo can be the one to mature for once. Don't ruin this for everyone. Just come and be quiet. I didn't ignore the message anymore. A few days later, I got a text from my mother, Sunday 15th, family meeting at home. "We need to fix this." That was their idea of an olive branch. A mandatory meeting at their house. No apology, no effort to reach out to me, no acknowledgement of what they had done. I stared at that message for a long time. And this time, I didn't stay silent. "There's nothing to fix." I've spent years trying to be enough for all of you, and I finally understood that I don't need to prove anything anymore. You made a choice when you skipped my birthday, when you called me selfish for celebrating without you, and when you tried to make me the villain just because I wouldn't lie to protect your image. You want a meeting? Fine. But it will be on my terms. I expected another explosion, but this time there was total silence. Not even a read receipt. 2 days later, Tomas called. Not a text, a full-blown call. I watched the screen as it rang. I let it go to voicemail. His message was, "Look, man, Mom's upset. Dad's not sleeping. They think you've cut everyone off. Alicia says you're being manipulative, that you're making us look bad online. I told them I'd try to talk to you, so consider this my attempt. But whatever this little act is, it's not going to fix anything." He hung up. No apology. Just another reminder that even their attempts at reconciliation came wrapped in condescension. That's when I knew it was time to draw a line they couldn't ignore. A few weeks earlier, my parents had been nagging me to help with Alicia's wedding fund. Apparently, the photographer she wanted was too talented to pass up, but also a bit out of budget. They hinted, not so subtly, you could contribute, since you don't have children or a partner and you earn good money. At the time, I hesitated. I didn't want to seem ungrateful. I thought helping might earn me a place at the table. But now? Now I had another idea. I wrote an email. Subject: Wedding Contribution. Hi Mom, Dad. I've given this a lot of thought and I wanted to be clear. I will not be contributing to Alicia's wedding financially, logistically, or emotionally. I wish her all the best and hope her day is everything she wants it to be. I will also not be attending. This might seem harsh, but after how you treated me on my birthday and how you reacted to the fact that I simply celebrated with friends, I think this is the healthiest decision for me. You don't have to agree with it, but I need you to respect it. I'm not going to keep showing up for people who don't show up for me. Take care. Rodrigo. I hit send. I closed the laptop. That night, I went to dinner with friends, people who laughed at my jokes, who asked me how work was going, and who expected nothing in return except kindness and presence. People who made space for me without me having to shrink myself. On my way home, I saw I had a new message from my mother. You've made your point clear. We'll talk at the wedding. That's when I realized she still hadn't gotten it. So I made a decision that would ensure there would never be any more misunderstandings. For the next few days, I didn't reply. I didn't even open the message. My silence wasn't a cry for attention anymore. It was my boundary, one they weren't used to. Before, I would always send long messages trying to explain how I felt, trying to be understood by people who'd never been interested in understanding me unless I fit their narrative. But not this time. This time, I was done playing the role of too sensitive or the emotionally complicated one. I wasn't going to fight for crumbs of empathy anymore. Still, I knew them. I knew they wouldn't stay quiet. And I was right. Alicia called the next night. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity won. Her voice was cheerful, as if nothing had happened. I just finished the cake tasting today. Oh my God, Rodrigo, salted caramel red velvet. You have to try it. I stayed quiet. I waited. She continued, unfazed. Hey, about the RSVP link, I didn't see your response. I figured you just missed it. I didn't miss it, I said calmly. She was silent for a beat. I could almost hear her mental gears turning. Wait, you're not coming? She let out a soft, incredulous chuckle, as if I were a child refusing to eat my vegetables. Come on, I know you're still hurt about the birthday thing, but this is my wedding. I know, I said. That's why I'm telling you directly. I'm not going. Her tone changed instantly. Seriously? Are you going to throw a tantrum and disappear after everything this family has done for you? I almost laughed. The mental gymnastics they did deserved an Olympic medal. What has this family done for me, Alicia? Really? What has this family done for me? Alicia was silent for a second, then exploded. That post was mean, and you know it. You humiliated Mom. No, I said, my voice firm. Mom humiliated herself when she reacted that way instead of realizing how hurt I was. She cared more about how it all looked than what it actually meant. You're unbelievable, she spat. And you're full of privilege. The line went dead. I stood in the kitchen, phone still in my hand, staring out the window at the dark city skyline. A strange sense of calm settled over me. It wasn't easy. It never is when you step out of the role you were assigned since childhood. But the silence now felt like peace, not punishment. The next day, the retaliation arrived. My Aunt Teresa, my mother's older sister, the family's unofficial spokesperson for all things respect and tradition, left me a voicemail. Her tone dripped with that artificial concern they reserve for manipulating someone. Rodrigo, dear, it's your Aunt Teresa. I heard you're not coming to the wedding, and, well, it's none of my business, but your mother is devastated. Absolutely devastated. She's been crying for days. Alicia's heartbroken. Your brother says you've completely lost it, and the neighbors are starting to ask questions. Please, whatever this is, come, even just for the ceremony. Don't make this a permanent mistake. I listened to the whole message, then deleted it without replying. The problem wasn't that they didn't understand what they'd done. The problem was that they didn't care. Unless, of course, it made them look bad. 2 days later, my mother showed up unannounced at my apartment. I only opened the door because she wouldn't stop ringing the bell. She was dressed like she was going to a gala, as if the right outfit could make the situation manageable. We need to talk, she said curtly. I leaned against the doorframe. You could have called. You weren't going to answer. That should tell you something. She crossed her arms. This is getting out of control, Rodrigo. I don't know what's gotten into you lately, but you're acting like a stranger. No, I said. I'm acting like someone who's finally tired of being treated like an afterthought. She narrowed her eyes. We didn't forget your birthday. We just thought a big dinner wasn't necessary. We already celebrated at the brunch. You didn't invite me to the brunch, I reminded her. We assumed you'd be busy. I blinked. You assumed I'd be busy on my own birthday? The one I planned 2 weeks in advance? The one you said you'd come to. She dismissed it with a wave of her hand. Oh, don't twist things. I'm not twisting anything, I said calmly. You just don't like being held accountable. Her face tightened. This isn't just about a dinner. It's about the way you've turned your back on this family. Are you punishing us? No, I replied firmly. I'm protecting myself. We stood in silence. Finally, she said what I'd been waiting to hear for years. You're choosing strangers over your own family. I smiled, just a little. How interesting. That was the only thing that made me finally feel like I belonged somewhere. She looked at me like I'd slapped her. But I didn't flinch. Not this time. She left without saying goodbye. That night, I got an email from Tomas. Short and to the point. You made your choice. Don't expect us to be there when you figure out how cold that place is. I read it and didn't reply to Tomas's email, but I forwarded it to HR the next morning, along with my formal acceptance of the team leader position and notice that I would be taking a few vacation days before starting the new role. While they were busy trying to save face for a wedding I wouldn't be attending, I had my own plan, one they didn't see coming. I spent the next 2 weeks preparing for my new position at work. I brushed up on leadership strategies, shadowed Andres in several meetings, and completely immersed myself in this new phase. It was a breath of fresh air to be able to focus on something that didn't revolve around guilt or emotional manipulation. For the first time in my adult life, I was building something on my own merit, earning respect not by being the mediator or the easy target for blame, but by showing up, working hard, and supporting others with the same energy. Meanwhile, the family group chat continued. Or maybe it didn't. I'd left it for good. And that silence was the closest thing to peace I'd ever known. And then came the week of the wedding. My absence had clearly become the elephant in the room. People started texting me individually, distant cousins, old family friends, even Alicia's maid of honor. Some messages were subtle. You don't have to talk to anyone, just come for the ceremony. Others more direct. Your mother is heartbroken. You could fix this if you just showed up. One cousin I hadn't seen in years texted me, "Whatever they did to you must have hurt." I get it now. That message stuck with me. The day of the wedding, I woke up to rain on the window. I had coffee, saw a few posts with fancy suits, and closed the app. By 10 a.m., I already had several missed calls. Mom, Dad, Tomas. And Alicia left a voicemail. I listened to it. "I know you're not coming." I get it now. I'm not going to try to change your mind. I just wanted to say, I didn't understand how much we made you feel like you didn't matter. I'm sorry. I hope you find people who do show up. Maybe we weren't those people. I didn't cry. I just felt that pang of being seen, far too late. I didn't reply. That same day, I went ahead with what I'd been planning for weeks. Ines, a friend from university, ran a mentorship program for foster youth. She'd said they could really use someone from the corporate world, not just for talks, but for real guidance. I went. I walked into a room full of nervous young people. We talked about interviews, resumes, cover letters. And then I told them something I'd never said before. I used to think I had to earn love. That if I helped and stayed quiet and tried hard enough, I'd be valued. But love you by isn't love. It's control. There was silence. And then a hand went up. In that moment, I knew I had found something more real than anything my family had ever given me. That night, while they danced under chandeliers, I ate tiramisu at home. Alone, but not lonely. I wasn't mourning the ones I lost anymore. I was freeing myself from the ones who were never really there. 2 days later, my father sent an email. "Your absence was noted. You embarrassed your mother. If you want a relationship, it's on you to repair the damage." I didn't reply. I just forwarded it to Ines with a note. Another proof that family doesn't always carry your last name. Sometimes, it's who shows up without obligation. Weeks later, Alicia texted again. "Rodrigo, I know I hurt you." We all did. I don't want anything, just for you to be happy. I didn't reply, but I saved that message. Not as an open door, but as a possible window. With time, I thrived in my new role. The program flourished. I became someone people invited because they wanted to, not because they should. And on my birthday, my coworkers threw me a surprise lunch. They gave me a huge card. At home, one envelope was from Alicia. Inside, a picture of us as kids. On the back, it said, "You were always the quiet one. I wish we'd listened. Happy birthday, Rodrigo." That night, as I blew out the candle, surrounded by people who actually chose me, I promised myself I would never shrink myself again. Never justify myself again. From now on, I build my own table and I only invite those who bring something more than expectations.